Shalom, חברים, ברוכים הבאים לבית המדרש מלכה. Shalom, friends, and welcome to the Queen Study Hall. I'm Malka, the Queen. This part of my YouTube channel is dedicated entirely to Parasha study. Parasha, of course, being a Torah portion. And just because I don't want to assume anything about the people who are watching these videos, I just wanted to speak a little bit to that first. I don't want to, if you already know this, feel free to skip this. And if not, if you're starting from square one, or Aleph, if you prefer, I don't want to leave you in the dust. I don't want anyone to be confused. So, Torah has 5 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, which we say in English. In Hebrew, Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. It's respectively same order. So, each of those books is made up of chapters, which these are the actual parashiot. Parasha is singular, parashiot, plural. And of course, each parasha or chapter is made up of many verses in which a lot of really exciting stuff happens, especially in Bereshit or Genesis, when you get the really narrative-rich stories of Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all of that really awesome stuff. So typically, I shouldn't say typically, it is standard, it's tradition, that we read one parasha, we study one parasha each week. And typically in a lot of American Jewish congregations, they'll read Torah on a Shabbat morning, so a Saturday morning. Now, when the new week starts, which Jewish days actually begin at night, and so of course Saturday night starts the beginning of the Jewish new week. And that's when the parasha rolls over and changes to the next one, whatever that is in the cycle of where you are in reading Torah. Also, typically in American Jewish congregations, it takes us a whole entire year to make it through all 5 books of Torah. In Sephardic world, that may not necessarily be the case. However, I can't really speak to that tradition so much as I didn't grow up with it. So, hopefully that clarifies things. When dealing with any piece of Torah text, there are a number of different ways in which one can interpret that text. We have a handy little acronym for this in Hebrew, which is called pardes. Incidentally, pardes is also the word for orchard in Hebrew, and as I said, it's also an acronym. So what does that stand for? So we've got Pe, which is pshat. Then we've got resh, which is remez. Then we have dalet, which is drash. And then we have samech, which is sod. Now, pshat, this is the simplest, most basic reading of the text. It's often the literal reading. That's where you start. Rashi, if you're familiar with him, he was a very famous medieval commentator. He loves pshat. He's like all about the pshat. And that's probably why a lot of people study him. He was also a very important commentator generally in the course of Jewish history. But anyway, Rashi, he's our pshat friend. And it's where you have to start out. That's kind of like your framework, right? Remez. Remez literally means clue. That's the next step. It's where you're starting to get a little bit deeper. You maybe start looking at the Hebrew. It gives you clues into a deeper meaning. You're not quite at the deepest level yet, but you're getting there. Yeah? Dalet. Drash. This darash means to interpret text or scripture in a homiletical way, meaning that you interpret the text of Torah according to a Jewish context. Drash. Sod literally it means secret. This is the hidden, the inner, the mystical meanings, which, of course, if you've gotten this far, this is predicated on the notion that you've already been through all the other levels of the pardes, of this system of learning text, and you have a really good, firm grasp on them. And that's really the only way that you can get to Sod, because that's what grounds you. In just an interesting side note, this whole concept of pardes is also a Kabbalistic parable to basically teaching us why it's not good to study Kabbalah or Jewish mysticism without the proper training and grounding. So, sorry, Madonna, you may want to take some courses in Pshat. That's not to say anything bad about Madonna. I think she's amazing as a pop artist. But anyway, when it comes to Kabbalah, different story. So what is Torah? What is Torah? Chances are, if you went to Sunday school in the last 30 years or so in the United States, no one ever really talked about that. It's, it's a peculiarity of our Sunday school system here in the United States. It is not a history book. I know that was a very popular notion in the Reform movement, say in like the 1950s or so, kind of like the height of Reform Judaism. It is not a history book. How do we know this? Because Torah is not obsessed with dates. Torah will give you context in terms of like what season things are happening in, but Torah will never bothers with exact dates. And that's because Torah doesn't care. That's not what's important. It's also not just an endless set of rules and regulations. Although it does offer us a framework from which we can build a healthy society, which functions, in which people care for each other, and, all that good stuff, it's not just like an endless onslaught of rules. It is also not meant to be taken wholesale literally. Although I did mention, like the Pshat, the first level of Torah study, is the most basic one. You have to start there, but at least in my humble opinion, you've got to move on from that eventually. Even our friend Rashi, who's the master of Pshat, he also moved on from that. So, Torah is our manual that gives us insight into what our true mission is in this life, and what God wants from us and for us. I know that might be a little bit of an uncomfortable statement, but I can almost guarantee you what God wants from and for us is not what you think you've been taught. I will clarify that statement in subsequent videos, so stay tuned. So, in my Parasha videos, I'll try to start out with the Pshat context of whatever piece we're studying, so we can orient ourselves. However, I hope to also give you a little bit of a deeper meaning, especially as it applies to us in the 21st century, because it really pains me, and I've seen this a lot in my experience as a Jewish educator, that I've seen a lot of people who just totally discard Torah because they've never had anyone tell them and help them to cultivate an appreciation of what it actually is. They haven't been given Torah as something that can change and learn and grow as we change and learn and grow throughout our lives. And it's sad, and that's something that I hope to correct here, because Torah absolutely is something that has endless depth and will always offer us guidance. Whatever we're experiencing in our lives, we can always turn to Torah for inspiration. So, I hope to be giving you some helpful insights into how that can be possible, and I hope you enjoyed this part of the channel. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. Please feel free to leave me a comment, especially in this section, because we'll be talking about some really great stuff. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Litraot, toda rabba.